Hello, welcome to video training. This is Unit Sales, Level 2, Setting Up Floor Plan Codes. Okay, well, let's begin. From the main menu, hit Unit Sales. Okay, there's a button here called Terms Floor Plan Maintenance. Let's just talk about floor planning for a second. Number one, before doing this, you may want to contact all your floor plan companies and ask them how they're calculating your charges. Each floor plan company may do it differently. Secondly, I want you to understand what the system is actually doing. What the system is going to do, it's going to go through your system every day and look what you have in inventory, your major unit system, and it's going to calculate the floor plan charge for that day and add it to it. It is not going to update your payable system. What this is for is not to update your payables. Your payables will be updated when you get your bill at the end of the month. Now, when you do get your bill at the end of the month, you can run what we call a floor plan cost report, and it should agree with what you're getting billed. They may not be 100% accurate. Normally, they're within 5, 6, 7 cents. Some banks or some floor plan companies have rounding that'll go way out. Some do, some don't. So it'll be fairly accurate. But what we calculate the floor plan cost for is so that you get a real picture of your profit margin, so that when you sell a unit, you can tell it, I want to take into consideration my floor plan cost, or you can tell it not to. There's an option that does that. Obviously, the preferred way of doing it is taking into consideration your floor plan cost. So if you paid $10,000 for a unit and you had $1,000 in floor plan cost and you sold that for $15,000, it doesn't look like your profit margin is $5,000 when what it really is $4,000. The cost of keeping that thing on the shelf, the cost of purchasing that was $1,000, and that's what it's for. So your actual payables is going to get updated when you get your bill in from your floor plan companies, and that's just going to be one lump sum. You may have to pay $500, $1,000, $2,000. We have customers that are paying $30,000, $40,000 a month for floor plan charges. So that's giving you a good understanding of what's going on. Now, how can you set this up so it will automatically do this? Okay. Let's get started here. Now, as I said before, every floor plan company is somewhat different. There are two major ways that floor plan companies work. Some of them go by dates, and when they go by dates, they'll actually say, look, is a date January 1st, 2008, maybe till March 30th, 2008. If the invoice date is between these dates, and it all goes by the invoice date, is the plan that we're going to be using. And they'll give you different date ranges. And depending on where that invoice falls, it's going to use that calculation. Another method is by days, where it basically says, look, we're taking the invoice date, and for an example, maybe the first 30 days are free. Maybe from 30 to 60, well, there's the rate you're going to be paying. So those are the first two things, whether it's by days or by dates. We're going to go in and look at one by days. They're basically exactly the same, and the setup is the same. The only difference would be you'd be keying in a date rather than number of days. So let's click Maintenance by Days, which is the most popular. And I'm going to look one up here. And I typed in a code, which I made up, and it's just called RIH. Now, if you look at what this screen says, then maybe the first thing you may want to do is hit the Help button. And it kind of tells you what's going on. Basically, by days. Day 1 is the number of days from the date of the invoice. Day 2 is the number of days from day 1 to the next date, and so on and so on and so on. The monthly percent is the rate charged if Prime is not used. These are certain codes here, and you'll see them on the first screen. P means that this particular company is using the prime rate only. Whatever the prime rate is, that's what they're going to be charging you. L means that they're using the prime rate plus maybe a percent, 2%, 3%. These two are probably the more popular ones used. They're not looking at the prime rate. What they're looking at is it's using a flat monthly percent, and they're calculated. There's two mathematical equations on how they're calculated. And these are questions you should ask your floor plan companies if you're not sure. The other thing is you may want to call our support staff and talk to them. They've worked with lots and lots of companies and lots of dealerships. They may have that answer for you. The first method, N, is your monthly calculation calculated using a daily rate formula. It ignores the prime rate. They just say, hey, we're charging you 5%, and it's based on a daily rate. S is the same thing. Use the same percent, but the mathematical calculation is based on a monthly rate. Also, some companies have what they call a base monthly fee. So they'll basically say, look, it's $100, and then it's for each unit. So these are things that you need to check with your floor plan companies. Okay, let's get out of here. So for an example, I'm going to set up a new one. So I'm going to go here, and let's just type in a code. We're going to call it new. You can make the code whatever you want, and you can have as many as you want. You can have more than one code for one company. I might have IT&T, and maybe I have 3 different formulas for IT&T. What you probably want to do is IT&T 1. I'm going to hit the Enter key. It says, okay, this is a new one I'm adding. If that was out there already, it would come back and say changing. The same as all our maintenance programs. There again, if you've taken any training at all, this is a standard maintenance program. Add, next, backwards, look up. And sometimes lookup is maybe the first thing you may want to do. We do give you some sample data in the system when you get the software. Give it a description. Let's just say, floor plan, whatever. And you can give it as much description as you want. Now let's assume that this one is by days. And let's assume that there again, I'll use one that's pretty much fairly popular. Let's say the first 30 days are free. So I'm going to type in 30 because what it's going to do is look at the date of the invoice, and within the first 30 days it's going to do what I tell it to do here. Well, I want my monthly rate to be 0 because I don't want it to calculate anything. And we're looking at one where it's going to be a monthly rate. We're not looking at the prime at all. So I'm going to leave that 0. I'm going to tell it, now you would have checked to find out if it's calculated using a daily rate formula or a monthly rate formula. Most people use the daily rate formula, so let's assume that being the most popular. Obviously it's not a prime plus, we're not looking at prime at all. So, the first 30 days are free. Now, maybe from 31 to 60, well, we're going to have to start paying something. So obviously what we're going to do is we're going to say the minute it gets over 30 days, which is 31 to 60, maybe we're going to be paying, there again, maybe 1%. And it's N. And maybe from 60 to 90, we're going to be paying, now that's not 1%, that's 0.1%, but it doesn't matter. Let's go here, and maybe it jumps up to there. Sorry, let's go here. And there again, the decimal points are very important. And we're going to go in. And maybe when we get to 120 here, maybe it really starts kicking in here. Maybe we start typing close to that. And they may cap out. We may say, okay, once it gets over 120 days, it goes to 5%. And if that's what I'm using, obviously if there was a base fee, you'd key that in, you'd hit add, and now that new floor plan is now in my system. Now if you want to do something where it was prime plus, obviously you could have another one that's, there again, this is another new one I'm adding. And maybe we have the same thing. The first 30 days are free. And maybe this is going to be prime plus. It's not looking at any monthly percent. And you can actually mix and match. Maybe for the first 30 days, it's looking at prime. Maybe after that, it's says no, it's just 10% or whatever the percentage may be. I'm going to look at this with prime, and or I could say prime plus, which would be L. If it's prime plus, then I would be looking at this right here, prime plus 1, or maybe 2. So you have various variations that you can do. Now, one of the things that you may want to do, just giving you an idea, and I think what you want to do is look at this, and then when you make a phone call to your floor plan companies, you have some questions to ask. Okay, is it prime plus? Is it just a percentage? How is it calculated, on a daily rate or a monthly rate? Is there a base fee? Is there a 30-day calculation? And these are just changed. Some of these things, they really amount to not a lot of money. They amount to dollars and cents, but it is important. We want to get it as close as we can. The more accurate you tell the computer how your floor plan company is being calculated, the more precise it's going to be. But it's relatively simple. First you find out how it's being calculated. You find out what your days are. There's usually normally free days, whether it be 30 days, 60 days, and after a certain time, maybe the first 30 days are, in this case, might be free. So maybe if that was the case, I would actually make this like this, and I'd make that here because it's free. And then maybe after 30 days, I just have to start paying, and I'm going to do prime plus, and maybe I need to do prime plus 2. And what's going to happen there is that's just a flat thing saying, okay, first 30 days are free. After that, I'm going to kick in and start doing the prime. So if you hit the lookup, obviously this standard lookup, it goes to what you were looking at. If you want to see what's out there in your system, obviously this is what's out there. We do give you some examples to look at. You'll probably see this RAH one out there. And so there are some examples. If you need help doing this, just give our support department a call. Okay, once you've set your different floor plans, and there again, you could have multiple ones for the same company. Now, get out of here and okay, what do I do next? Well, there are a couple of things you need to do. Now we need to go in and say, okay, I got to go into my units, because normally this is done after all your units are in. Obviously the most important thing is getting all your units in the system, learning how to sell your units. So by the time you're doing this training, you have that all done. Your units are already in the system. You've already been selling some units. You've already done all that stuff. So this is usually the last part, the last kind of step of what you're doing in the unit system, and you say, okay, I've got the unit system implemented. Everything's going fine. Now all I want to do is add one more whistle and bell. I'm going to enhance it one extra level. I'm now going to start calculating floor plan costs that I wasn't doing before. So that's usually the step that we're doing. So now you're going in, and there's two ways to go in and now implement all these floor plans within each unit. One is that if you only have a few different floor plan companies, one is to do this, is to go in here and say I want to do a mass change. And normally, depending on how you were coding it, when you were adding your units, you could have coded them in as owned, which was probably what you did, or you could have put them in as picked one of the other options that were there. So let's suppose I'm going in and I'm saying, look, I want to go through every single unit that I haven't sold yet, obviously, and anything that's anything that's owned, which actually says OWNED, I want to change it to ITT1. And it basically says, okay, I'm going to go through your whole unit system and change anything to own to ITT1. And it went out and did 39 units. Now that's one way to do it. Now maybe not all 39 units are using ITT. Maybe most of them, that's my most popular floor plan company. That's the one that I probably use the most. But maybe what I want to do is go in, and you can do a couple of things. Number one is you can run a report, and the report that you may want to run to just see if you do have your units set up with the right floor plan is go into sorted, go into floor plan cost report, which is something that you're going to be running at the end of the month. When you get your bill, you may want to run this to kind of verify it. And how you want to sort it, obviously by make, by model, however you want to do it. By days owned, maybe that may be a good option. I'll just do make and model. And obviously I want to see unsold units only. And I'm going to do floor plan. And, you know, I could pick out one floor plan company. What I want to do is, would you like the total? No, I'm just going to say no here. And what this is going to do is tell me all my floor plan companies. And obviously, here's all the ones that we changed. And this obviously would tell me my floor plan cost up to this point. So that's a good way to look and see exactly what you have. Another thing you may want to do is this. Go into unit maintenance and just do a lookup. And there again, you can pick how you want to do it. By obviously, we've gone over this before. If I just do it by stock number. And your floor plan company will be listed right here. So you may look and say, you know what, I know this one here is not IT&T, it's something else. You know, so I can click on it, go over here, change it to what I want. There's all those new ones that we put in. There's RIH, there's IT&T2, there's IT&T1, there's IT&T. You also can delete the ones that we have samples. If you want to change that, you can click whatever you want, change, then hit the change button. Yes, I want to change it. Okay to change, and there again, I don't have to use the mouse. The default is yes. And then now, whenever you make a change to your unit record, it's going to say, do you want to also change any of the options? If I say yes, it'll show me the options that are on there. Normally, if you're just changing the floor plan, I'm going to type in N. I can use the mouse if I wish, but in this case, I'm just going to type in N. I'm right back here. Now, if I know the stock numbers, I can type the stock numbers, or if I wanted to, I can thumb through down here and just say next, and just check each one. Yeah, that's okay, that's okay. And I'm hitting the next button, or F3. And that way there, I'm looking at each and every one of my units. If I need to change something, I'd click here. This is a change it to what I want. Maybe I own that one. Hit change. Yes, it's okay. No, I'm all set. That's done. So, it's relatively simple. You look up again. If you want to look it up by product, is what's floor planned. I need to change something. Click on it. I really own it. Change it. Yes and no. Okay, relatively simple. Now, let's go in and say, okay, I just put all these formulas in. I just went in and set all my records, and I told what units are using what floor plan. Now, on a daily basis, it will automatically calculate that. But right now, I want to do it right now. I don't want to wait. I want to do it now. Well, how you can force the computer to do it now is to go into here, Workstation and System Options. And there's a couple of things here. And there's two things that we want to talk about. One is, this is where you can change the prime rate. Obviously, when you change the prime rate, it'll set that for anything that's using prime rate. Secondly, I wanted to go through and calculate all my floor plan costs right now, this second. You'll go through, it says it's all done, it takes no time at all. Now if we go into any one of our records and we look up a major unit, and I'm just going to type in any old stock number, if I can type in the right stock number, or you can do a lookup, or you could just run a report. Obviously, running a report will show you everything. If you want to look at an individual unit here, this has $195 in floor plan charges. So if I made a mistake and I'm saying, well, that's not right, there's something wrong here, what did I do wrong? Well, obviously what you'd want to look at is, okay, what did I do wrong here? IT&T1. Let's go look at that. That's not the number I'm expecting. Go here. We're going to go look up in ITT1. And, you know, maybe my rate isn't enough. Maybe I need to charge more. You know, obviously we can make this stuff, you know, if I do this and change this to, obviously that's going to make a significant impact. Now by changing that one number, and if we go back, just to show you, and we go back over to here, Workstation System Options here, I want to recalculate that again. It's all done. Okay, I'm hitting escape. I'm going to go back into my unit. Now I also can run a report that'll list every single unit, because it just didn't do that unit, did them all. And I'm going to type in that stock unit again. And now if we look at that, obviously it's $1,900. So it can be significantly changed. Now, if you look at that and you say, you know what, I want it to be, I made a mistake. I charged floor plan cost to a unit that's not supposed to have it. You can clear that out if you want, or you can just say, you know what, if I do this here, you can go back and you can create a floor plan that'll actually just zero everything out again. So, you can play with that. There again, that's something that usually you may need a little help with our support staff. And that's not a problem. I'm just going over the basics. When you're really ready to do this, give the support staff a call. They'll help you set this up, and they'll get it dialed in so those numbers will pretty much match up to what your floor plan's charging you, and that's the whole key here. So you get a picture of ahead of time. Before you get your bill, you'll pretty much know that, okay, I haven't got the bill yet, but my charge should be about this. And that's kind of what we're looking for. And when you're selling a unit, there again, there's also options on, do you want your floor plan charges to be included in the cost when it's figuring out your profitability, or do you not? We have some dealers that do not want that floor plan cost to be calculated in the profit of a unit, although most dealers usually want that in. If they're looking at profit, they want the floor plan cost to be in there so they can see what their real profit is, because that's really what it costs you. Okay, as far as running the floor plan report, there again, we'll go here, floor plan cost report. You sort it how you want to sort it. You may want to sort it for one particular company. If your floor plan rep came in, you may want to go here, type in IT&T1, IT&T2, and you'll just get that one company. And that's probably what you'd probably want to do. Would you like to print like totals? Yeah, you say yes here. And there again, what this is going to do, it is going to total it for each company. So it's telling me, okay, here's the units that are using IT&T1, here's the units that are using this one here, and here's my totals. Okay, that concludes setting up your floor plans. And there again, make that call to your floor plan company, get a little bit of information, and keep in mind that what that's going to do, it's basically calculating it, putting it into each individual record so you get a good handle of your profitability and you know what your true cost is for each unit. Your actual payables will get updated when your bill comes in, and you should match your bills up to what the computer says. Okay, that concludes this section.